Good morning, East Alabama and West Georgia. It is Saturday, August 28, 2021. On Dr. Don's weather page, it is time now for your prime time forecast from the Shepherd's Weather Center. And of course, our top story this morning is Hurricane Ida. We will talk about that extensively, so stay with us right here on Dr. Don's prime time forecast. Don't forget to head over to our weather store and pick up your baseball caps. You can also get your coffee cups so you can enjoy your morning coffee as you watch your primetime weather forecast. We've got t-shirts, several different varieties. We have the COVID mask, which is a thing again. We have the bumper stickers and, of course, those pocket tees. Here's how you go about getting those items, and you'll be supporting Dr. Don's weather at the same time. On top of all of our videos that we post here on Facebook and on YouTube and on our weather app, there are 3 links. That very first one carries you to Dr. Don's weather store, where you can purchase these items. It's quick if you have a PayPal account, but if you don't, you can still use a credit card. You do not have to have a PayPal account. Just click on that link. It'll carry you over there to our weather store. The second link carries you to drdonwx.com donate, where you can support Dr. Don's weather. And the third link will carry you to our website. Yeah, that's where everything Dr. Don stays. So go over there and check out our weather site, and a lot of good stuff over there. All right, let's jump into the weather forecast. Lots to talk about today. Storm Prediction Center convective outlook for your Saturday. General scattered thunderstorms across East Alabama and West Georgia. I think they are few and far between this afternoon. Sunday, we begin to see a risk of severe weather, especially along the Gulf Coast regions of Alabama, Northwest Florida, Mississippi, and back into Louisiana with Ida. And a marginal risk will make it across southwest Alabama up into central Alabama. I don't think we see severe weather on Sunday across East Alabama or West Georgia. And then as we get into Monday, that marginal risk will continue for most of the eastern half of Louisiana, just about the entire state of Mississippi, all of west and southwest Alabama to include central Alabama. And I think probably by Monday afternoon, that marginal risk is going to make it over into East Alabama also, and I'll show you that coming up in just a few moments. Let's jump into the tropics. A couple of other areas to watch this morning. We'll get to Ida in just a few moments. Tropical disturbance number 10 down there in the Atlantic, the southern Atlantic, is going to bear watching. Again, we think it's going to turn back to the north, but it has reformed a little bit further south than original. So, yeah, we may have to keep an eye on this one. I mean, it's kind of in the same area where Ida started several days ago. Then we have disturbance number 1 up there to the east of Bermuda. That's going to move on off to the northeast. No concerns there. And then we have another wave coming off the African coast. That is disturbance number 2. We're going to watch also. That's number 10 that we're going to have to keep an eye on coming up behind Ida in the next couple of days. So we've got several products to show you this morning. First of all, here is the latest from the National Hurricane Center from about 4 a.m. this morning, showing the current location of Ida and where Ida is expected to go. Actually, we have the 7 a.m. numbers for you now. The center of Hurricane Ida was located near latitude 24.4 north, longitude 85.7 west. Ida is moving toward the northwest at 16 miles per hour, and this general motion should continue through late Sunday or early Monday, followed by a slower northward motion on Monday. On the forecast track, the center of Ida will move over the southeastern Gulf of Mexico today, move over the central Gulf of Mexico tonight and early Sunday. Ida is then expected to make landfall along the U.S. northern Gulf Coast within the hurricane warning area on Sunday, and then move inland over portions of Louisiana or western Mississippi later on Monday. Maximum sustained winds have increased to near 85 miles per hour with higher gusts. Rapid strengthening is forecast during the next 24 to 36 hours, and Ida is expected to become an extremely dangerous major hurricane when it approaches the northern Gulf Coast on Sunday. Weakening is expected after Ida makes landfall. That's normal. Hurricane-force winds extend outward to 25 miles from the center, and tropical storm-force winds extend outward up to 115 miles. The latest minimal central pressure estimated from the NOAA reconnaissance aircraft data is 985 millibars. And there's some indication this thing may drop down into the 960s. Those of you who follow weather know that is pretty significant. So we are looking at a life-threatening situation, especially for the Gulf Coast regions of Louisiana. This will be a devastating hurricane that will cause widespread damage along the Louisiana coast and well inland, maybe all the way to Baton Rouge. We're talking 140 mile per hour sustained winds at landfall, winds sustained up to 100 miles per hour as far inland as Baton Rouge with higher gusts. And so this is going to cause a tremendous amount of damage from the Gulf Coast beach area or the coastal regions of Louisiana all the way inland to New Orleans, Baton Rouge. If you're anywhere southern Louisiana up into central Louisiana, maybe even southwest Mississippi, you need to be getting out. I saw a story last night where New Orleans is not able to invoke the contraflow to evacuate because there's just not enough time. Therefore, a mandatory evacuation has not been issued for the city of New Orleans. And that is just scary, folks, because what's going to happen here, people are not going to leave because there's not a mandatory evacuation. They're not going to do the research, and they're not going to understand the magnitude of what we've got coming because there has not been a mandatory evacuation order given by the state of Louisiana. And that scares the daylights out of me. If you know anybody who lives in central or southern Louisiana, call them and tell them, get out. They need to go to Arkansas. They need to go to Texas. They don't need to go up into southwest Mississippi because that's where the storm's going. They could come over to Alabama or northwest Florida, and they would be much safer than staying there. But folks, it's going to be up to us to warn the folks of Louisiana and get that message out there. And it's becoming too late to get out now. So I know traffic is a mess down there, even without a mandatory evacuation. But look, Google Katrina. Send them pictures, send them video, show them what a storm like that can do. And honestly, we expect Ida to be stronger than Katrina was. Katrina was a 3 at landfall. We're expecting a 4 with Ida. Now, New Orleans is in a much better place today than they were during Katrina back in 2005 because the levees have been reworked and repaired, and a tremendous amount of work has been done down there to minimize the effects of the flooding that can take place from this type of storm. But there's still going to be massive wind damage, and there will be flooding as well. I mean, we could see up to 15 to 20 inches of rain in the New Orleans area. I don't care how good a shape the levees are. That amount of rain is going to cause flooding in New Orleans. I'm not sure we see it on the same level as what we saw with Katrina because the levees failed. Not so sure they failed this time, but there will be massive flooding reports coming out of New Orleans and all across southern Louisiana when this storm makes landfall. This is a catastrophic storm that is going to be life-threatening. It is going to cause casualties, and unfortunately, we are going to have deaths from this storm. It's going to happen. Please call your family and your friends and encourage them to get out from down there so that they are not part of that casualty list. This is totally avoidable if we can get everybody out from down there. So call them if you know somebody that lives down there. All right, so back to the graphics. You see what happens once the storm makes landfall sometime tomorrow afternoon. We're thinking probably 1, 2, 3 o'clock tomorrow afternoon. We hang on to hurricane status all the way up through 1 a.m. Monday. So we're talking 12 hours over land at hurricane status. And then by about 1 p.m. Monday, we go to tropical storm status. That'll be up there in southwest Mississippi. By 1 a.m. Tuesday, we're back to depression status. And then finally, the storm starts to move. Notice how those gaps get smaller as we make landfall. The storm's going to slow down. That's going to make the flooding situation down there even worse. We're talking storm surge of 10 to 15 feet along the Louisiana coast. That's storm surge. And then you pile the waves in on top of that. This is going to be tremendous down here, folks. And then finally out there around 1 a.m. Tuesday, the storm starts to move on off to the northeast fairly rapidly. The closest approach to East Alabama by Ida is going to be somewhere around 200 miles. If this track verifies, and we're pretty confident that it's going to. So about 200 miles is as close as the storm is going to get to East Alabama and West Georgia. So the tropical storm force winds are extending right now out about 115 miles from the center. So you can see that those tropical storm force winds won't make it to East Alabama or West Georgia. I think they will make it into extreme West Alabama. So places like Hale, Greene, Tuscaloosa County, and then even up there in the northwest part of Alabama, I think especially, we could see some tropical storm force winds up there. But the threat of tropical downpours and spin-up tornadoes could be an issue for East Alabama and West Georgia moving forward. I'll talk to you about that in just a minute. But I want you to make sure you understand what you're looking at here. This is the cone of uncertainty. This has nothing to do with the areas that are going to fill the storm. This is simply showing you the track of the eye of the storm, and the cone of uncertainty means that the storm could track anywhere within the solid white area or the hatched white area. Of course, if we get closer to landfall and the storm takes more of an eastern track and it stays within that hatched area, that would change everything for East Alabama and West Georgia. Hurricane Center is going to split the difference and say that it's going to move right down the middle of that track. I think that's a good track right now. We've had zero changes in the track during the overnight hours. And we get at this point in the forecast and the track doesn't move at all, you're pretty confident that this is exactly what's going to happen. I think the Hurricane Center has a good handle on this. All right, so here's the spaghetti models this morning. This is just all of the different computer models on one slide showing you what each computer model is thinking as far as the track. And you can see that the overwhelming majority of the models are grouped up really tight this morning. So we feel good about this track. There is one outlier that brings it up through central Mississippi and then across north central and northeast Alabama and northern Georgia. We're going to discount that one. And then there's a couple that take it far west up through western Louisiana, extreme eastern Arkansas, and then across northwest Tennessee. We're going to discount those two. It's kind of like when you take a test, when you average the scores, you take the highest score and the lowest score and you throw them out. That's what you do with the models. You take the ones furthest to the right and furthest to the west, you discount those and call those oddities, and then you look where everybody else is grouped up, and that's right along the track. That black line that you see in there is the official National Hurricane Center track. And again, I think they've got a good peg on this one. All right, so here's the Hurricane Ida model intensity guidance. Everybody, every one of the models pretty much are right there at a minimal category 3, somewhere around 115 to 130 miles per hour. Now, there are a few that carry it up into the category 4 status, and the National Hurricane Center is still sticking with that. They're calling this a category 4 at landfall with winds at around 140 miles per hour. Rapid intensification will take place today out in the Gulf of Mexico. Folks, there's just nothing out there that's going to prevent this storm from growing bigger. Category 4, I think, is expected. It's not out of the question to see this thing go to a category 5. It's just going to be devastating. So don't pay attention to the exact track. Don't pay attention to the exact category. This is going to be a catastrophic storm. We're talking storm surge of 2 to 4 feet in Mobile Bay. That's above normal dry. which means we may see 2 to 4 feet over the low-lying areas around the mouth of the Mobile Bay. And even up into the north end of the Mobile Bay, up around the battleship. So this is going to be far-reaching. There's going to be flooding from Texas to Florida along the coast. There's going to be a threat of severe weather all across the southeastern United States, and that's going to include the Carolinas, Georgia, Alabama, Mississippi, Arkansas, Louisiana, and maybe even some strong storms over in extreme eastern Texas. So this is going to be a huge storm. Ida will be retired. This is the third time the name Ida has been used. I can almost guarantee you this is Ida's last hurrah. This storm is going to go down in the history books. It's going to rival Hurricane Katrina once all is said and done. So here's the peak storm surge forecast. Again, look over here at the from Orange Beach, Alabama, back over to the Mississippi state line. We're talking 2 to 4 foot storm surge now. So that's going to cause problems. That's going to cause problems at Fort Morgan, out there on Dauphin Island, especially on the western end of Gulf Shores. There are going to be some flooding issues out there. From the Alabama-Mississippi state line back over to the Louisiana state line, to include all of the Mississippi Gulf Coast, 4 to 7 feet of storm surge. And then from the Louisiana-Mississippi state line all the way down to the central coast of Louisiana, 7 to 11 feet. And then would you look at that, 10 to 15 feet storm surge down here where the storm is expected to make landfall. And of course, a lot of this area is marshland, and this is absolutely going to inundate this entire area. If you stay in this area with this storm coming, and if indeed that 10 to 15 foot takes place, there's very little hope of finding you alive. I'm not trying to hype this. I'm just telling you, this is going to be devastating. 6 to 9 feet to the west of where we think the storm is going to come on shore. And then as we get on back over there toward Lake Charles, anywhere from 2 to 5 feet of storm surge can be expected all the way over to the Texas state line. So rainfall amounts expected across the state of Alabama. Obviously, the further west you go, the more rain we will expect. 6 to 8 inches will be likely down there in the Mobile area. 3 to 4 inches will be pretty common from about Jackson down in southwest Alabama all the way up to Demopolis. Tuscaloosa, you're probably in the 2 to 3 inch category. And then up there in northwest Alabama, which I think will actually the approach of the storm as it turns back to the northeast will make its closest approach to northwest Alabama. Probably out there on Monday night into Tuesday, we're looking at 4 to 6 inches of rain, Walker County, all the way back up into extreme northwest Alabama. East Alabama, we're going to be pretty common at 1 to 1.5 inches of rain, probably closer to the 1 inch across most of East Alabama and West Georgia. The further south you go, the smaller bouts of rain we expect. Down there around Auburn, maybe a 1/2 to 1 inch. And when you get down there in southeast Alabama, maybe around the Eufaula area, only about 1/4 of an inch expected down there. So we're really getting a good look at the storm this morning. This is the latest Goes East satellite shot, and you can see the storm is just very symmetrical. It is winding up tightly this morning. That is a classic hurricane look, and as strong as it appears to be on satellite right now, I don't think this is anything compared to what it's going to look like in another 6 hours. I mean, this thing is just exploding out here. We have very warm Gulf waters. You can tell by the cloud movement there is no shear. We do not have much of any dry air winding back up into this storm. You'd look down here on the southern and southeastern quadrant to see if we've got any dry air wrapping in. Very little. I mean, there might be just a little bit. But there's no shear. There's just nothing out here to block this storm. There's nothing to cause this storm to fall apart. The only hope we may have, and I have seen this happen in the past, If this thing were to blow up to a Category 5, I mean like rapidly, over the next 8 to 12 hours, it could outgrow its structure. If it intensifies faster than the structure can build to support the storm, it could collapse or start to weaken because it just gets so strong it can't support itself. I really think that's the only hope the Louisiana coast has right now. So as you go throughout the day and this thing starts to increase in strength, and we go to Category 2, and later Category 3, and then possibly Category 4, let's hope that it will grow to the point to where it just starts to fall apart, because that's really the only hope we have of seeing any decrease in strength before this makes landfall up there in Louisiana. All right, so this is the extensive rainfall outlook, and this looks all the way out through Tuesday morning. And you can see where the flooding probabilities are. It's a given. We're going to have flooding in southern Louisiana. Have a moderate risk of flooding all the way up almost the entire state of Mississippi, up well north of Jackson, Mississippi. Have a slight chance of flooding issues across West Alabama, and then a marginal risk of flooding, flash flooding issues, basically from about Huntsville down to Birmingham, down to Montgomery, and then Panama City west. The green area is where we have a marginal risk of flooding. And of course, that kind of gets into central Alabama. We have folks who watch us in central Alabama. So Birmingham, Prattville, Montgomery, Selma, all the way down to Panama City and west. Be weather aware for the possibility of some flooding. I think we're in the green area. We're probably looking at more of a flash flood setup from those heavy tropical downpours. West Alabama, maybe more so aerial flooding from continuous rain. And then there's no question that we're going to see that over in central Mississippi and southern Louisiana. And again, that chance of seeing some flooding issues will increase as we go throughout the next couple of 2 or 3 days. And this graphic takes into consideration the next 3 days. So severe storm possibilities across Alabama Monday through Tuesday. We can't rule out a rogue severe storm Sunday night late into early Monday morning, though I think the best window of opportunities from about noon Monday through maybe noon on Tuesday. And you can see that the entire Birmingham Warning County outline area is under a marginal risk for severe storms, and the primary threat is going to be possible spin-up tornadoes. Been telling you this now for 2 or 3 days, that we felt like this was going to be a possibility. And again, the further west you go, the better or the higher that risk is going to be. But look, Alabama, Florida, Northwest Florida, Georgia, we're all going to have that possibility of spin-up tornadoes because, you know, the storm rotates counterclockwise. Well, as it pulls moisture from the Gulf of Mexico, which is what it has to have to survive, those feeder bands will set up, and as the storm moves north and it's pulling moisture up off the Gulf of Mexico, it's beginning to get starved, so it's really digging hard trying to get that moisture up off the Gulf of Mexico. Well, when that moisture comes up and starts to turn to go into the storm, when that turn starts, combined with the forward motion and the veering in the atmosphere, we start to get those pockets of spin-up tornadoes. And folks, the warnings are short-fused. I mean, they happen really quick. Oftentimes, by the time the Weather Service gets the warning out there, the storm has started to weaken. So these things happen very, very fast. So it's imperative that you take personal responsibility and you watch the coverage, you stay in tune with what's going on when these storms start to form. Of course, I'll be here with you, broadcasting live. We'll be looking at the radar. We'll be watching it. And that is the quickest way to get warning. In this type setup, it's not like we have a cold front coming in that we can watch and give 15, 20-minute lead time. These things happen almost instantly, and they're gone almost that fast as well. So just know that pretty much the entire state of Alabama and Georgia will have the risk of spin-up tornadoes primarily Monday through Tuesday. And so now let's move on to some weather forecast for East Alabama and West Georgia. I told you this was going to be a long forecast. Here's what we expect this afternoon. 88 in Roanoke. Good news here, temperatures are backing off a bit. 88 in Roanoke, 87 Wedowee, Lineville 87, Ashland 88. We'll go to 88 down in Dadeville. Auburn tops out this afternoon at 89. Only about a 30% chance of a scattered thunderstorm this afternoon. I think most locations stay dry. Here's your 6-day forecast from the Shepherd's Weather Center on Dr. Don's weather page. 30% chance of rain today, 88. Down to 72 tonight with a 20% chance of rain. Then on Sunday, 30% chance of afternoon showers, 88. Monday will increase that chance of rain to 40%. Could have some strong storms in the afternoon. 87 will be your high. On Tuesday, 80% chance of showers and thunderstorms. If the storm follows the track that we have out there for you right now, the closest it will get to East Alabama and West Georgia is approximately 200 miles. So we're not expecting any direct impacts from what's left of Ida. Obviously, the tropical storm force winds and the hurricane force winds will stay well to the west of East Alabama and West Georgia. But those thunderstorms, tropical downpours, and those feeder bands and spin-up tornadoes will be a real deal on Tuesday. 81 will be your high. 60% chance that rain will continue into Tuesday night. And then by Wednesday, the storm starts to lift off to the northeast, pulling away from Alabama and Georgia and Mississippi. 60% chance of rain early in the day. I think by Wednesday afternoon, we're full-blown sunshine. It's all over with. 83 will be your high. And then on Thursday, back to a typical early September weather forecast. A 30% chance of showers and thunderstorms. 85 will be your high on Thursday afternoon. So let's take a look at your Southern Union State Community College Live Doppler HD radar. Here's the latest looking at the Gulf of Mexico. Here's the latest on the tropical situation. This is the track that we believe Ida is going to take. And it appears now that the Hurricane Center may be backing off the intensity a little bit. When I first loaded this morning, they were showing Category 4 at landfall. It looks like now we bring it to Category 3. And then we drop back to Category 2 right after landfall. But again, folks, I cringe when the forecast does this, because now folks down here in Louisiana are going to say, oh, it's not going to be a 4, it's going to be a 2. I've done that before, I can do this. This is going to be a life-threatening, catastrophic event. You do not need to stay in southern Louisiana. I mean, get out. We are looking at landfall down here just to the south of Houma, Louisiana. If you watch Troy Landry, you know that's where he's at. That's where he lives. So just south of Houma, Louisiana is where we expect that landfall to be. And then, and look, they've got rain down there now. And so the rain that's on the way is just going to compound that issue down there big time. And then the storm will continue on up into Mississippi, turning back across Mississippi, somewhere around Jackson. And then crossing Tupelo, and maybe touching extreme northwest Alabama. But you can see with the latest track now, East Alabama and West Georgia is pretty much out of that cone of uncertainty. That doesn't mean that we're not going to have any effects over here. We certainly will. It just means that the center of circulation now doesn't have much of a chance of coming across East Alabama and West Georgia. Of course, that certainly could change as well, so we got to keep an eye on that. But we have no precipitation across East Alabama and West Georgia this morning. I mean, this almost looks like a stagnant shot from the last 3 days. This time of morning, we got showers and thunderstorms down here coming in at Gulf Shores. Some pretty nasty-looking thunderstorms, too. We have some advisories down there. So maybe some flooding this morning right there along the Gulf Shores region. Big thunderstorms out there just to the east of Jacksonville coming back up from the southwest. So any showers that develop today will be coming from the southwest as well. And again, radar just beginning to pick up showers and thunderstorms associated with Ida. And if I go in tight on that, one thing I want to look at, and this will give us an opportunity to do it. If you'll bear with me just 1 second, I want to see what kind of field we had. 250 miles. Look at that, would you? 250 to 260 miles. The outer feeder band is reaching from the storm. All right, so now, if everything stays like it is right now, the storm doesn't grow at all. Remember, 260 miles, okay? So let's go back up here to the map, and we'll just use Randolph County. Let's just go to the center of Randolph County, and let's go out to the closest approach to Randolph County, which is going to be right in there. Now, obviously, the storm's not going to be quite as big by the time it gets up here because it's, well, let's just say landfall. It's about 407 miles there, so that won't get us. So let's just see at what point we may start seeing that outer feeder band. And it's going to be once that storm gets to around Jackson, Mississippi. So once the center of circulation makes it to Jackson, Mississippi, we could start seeing one of those outer feeder bands across East Alabama and West Georgia. So that will be Monday. I just wanted to run that right quick so we could both watch that calculation take place at the same time. The storm is currently 642 miles south of Roanoke, for those of you who are counting. All right, so enough of that. Let's tell you to head over to drdonwx.com, where you can download the Mixler app to listen to God's Country and the Classic. When you're in East Alabama and West Georgia, punch up the Classic at 89.7 and God's Country at 90.9 FM. So an extended version of our primetime forecast this morning to give you the latest information on Hurricane Ida bearing down on southern Louisiana. Now expected to be somewhere around a strong 3, maybe. It could be anywhere from a 2 to 4. But nonetheless, folks are only talking, the difference between 120 miles per hour and 140 miles per hour. It's more than 80 mile per hour winds sustained. It's going to tear the place up. Don't need to be there. Rain's going to be a problem. Flooding. It's going to be a mess. It's going to be catastrophic for Louisiana. And I'm watching it for you. We'll be watching it throughout the entire day. I'll come back and give you updates as necessary. And I'll be posting as well. So though we're not going to see direct impacts across East Alabama and West Georgia, we will have impacts. So please remain weather aware. Enjoy your Saturday, and I'll see you again real soon on Dr. Don's Weather. Bye now.